Welcome to the Market Me podcast with your host, Mike Mall. Each episode of Market Me deconstructs real campaigns for actual businesses to improve their marketing efforts. Mike is the founder of Social Media House and a digital marketing consultant who teaches marketing strategy to executives and their teams from small business to Fortune 500 companies. Let's get started.
All right. On this episode of the Market Me podcast, we are talking to Alan Donegan of PopUp Business. Really excited to have this conversation today. We were just talking a little bit beforehand that we're on a very similar mission, kind of tackling different audiences, but I love the path and I love what you guys are doing. So thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Mike. I'm really looking forward to being on the show.
So despite hiding in London from COVID, which I'm going to encourage you into traveling soon, tell me a little bit about what you guys are working on. Obviously, there's been a bit of a shift from the in-person stuff that you were working on, but give me the rundown.
Yeah, PopUp Business School itself was hit very hard by COVID because we're an events company and all of our events globally were cancelled. Last year, we ran about 50 two-week events helping 3,000 people to build businesses around the world. Wow. And they all shut down. So we kind of had to reimagine the business. And I don't think any of us were expecting to be 4 months later still talking about this. And we still haven't run our first in-person, face-to-face event since. So we've been pivoting or changing to online businesses. We've launched a podcast. We've done all sorts of things over the last 4 months to change the business. And I think as most of your listeners will have found, you kind of go, wow, my world ended. How do I recreate the next world?
Yeah, I know the first time that I experienced and went through it, I thought it was over. Nothing was ever going to come back and nothing was ever going to recover. So when it happened this time, for me anyways, I felt a little bit more settled because I had experienced it before. But yeah, and a lot of the first time people that I'm speaking with are having a really, really hard time. So walk me through the foundation. I mean, even when there was events happening, take me through how you guys get people set up into businesses.
So we run these giant free events around the world, and they're all sponsored so that we give them away to the people who need it the most. So I've always wanted the workshops to be free for anyone. And we run these 2-week-long events. Several things are different from your standard business stuff. Number one, we don't encourage business plans. Generally, they're a waste of time because by the time you've written it, it's normally out of date. Number two, we don't encourage debt. So most people think that it takes money to make money and they need to borrow money or invest money first. And we say, don't do that, sell first. And it's just a different approach to the standard stuff. And then I think the third thing that makes us different is we run our events in shopping malls, in empty shops. So people can come up with the idea at the back of the shop and then literally walk to the front of the shop to try and sell it to a real life customer. And that's the only point you really know if your business is going to be successful or not, is if someone buys it. So we encourage people, get out there and try and sell it.
Yeah, I love that. And so what type of businesses? Is this kind of across the gamut of different, services, products, all kinds of stuff? Or how do you focus it?
We don't, which makes it quite challenging sometimes. But the first question we ask is, what do you enjoy doing? Because if we can find something that you enjoy doing and then figure out how to make money doing it, it'll feel less like work. You'll feel more excited to do it. And when it gets tough, because it will get tough at some point, if you enjoy it, you'll want to keep coming back for more. So we start with what you enjoy. And if you ask, I ran an event in February, the last event before we closed down in Charleston, South Carolina. And if you ask a room full of 120 people, what do they enjoy doing? You get some random answers. It's quite a dangerous question, Mike. And we've started everything from cleaning, photography businesses, food businesses, consulting, training, to drone flying schools and zombie fitness training. And the list is endless. But the foundational thing is building a business around something that you actually enjoy So you want to get out of bed on a Monday morning.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So is that a process that you guys undertake with them to unpack this, or is it simply just, if you could do anything you wanted, what would you do? Like, how do you pull that out of people? Because I feel that a lot of people maybe think they know, but or maybe they're unsure, or maybe they feel self-conscious about knowing. Like, how do you get that out of them to get them motivated?
So I think there's several steps. There's one is the idea generation. And there's two is you don't actually know what you're going to enjoy until you do it. So let's run an experiment and test. So the step one on the idea generation is, what do you enjoy doing? What did you enjoy doing as a kid? What do you do where it feels like time vanishes? You know, when you sit at the computer or you sit wherever, or you're doing something and then 3 hours later, you're like, where did that time go? That's probably a good sign you were enjoying it. And I think sometimes people get confused between when people say, what are you passionate about? They think they should be screaming from the hills with excitement all the time. And I think time vanishing is a better sign of enjoyment than screaming with an electric face. So we come up with a list of options. Then we normally lay them out, and depending on what you're trying to achieve, normally lay them out on a sort of grid, with one scale being excitement and the other scale being profitability or speed of profitability. And we look for the ones that they're excited about and they think they can make money doing.
Nice.
And from that, we then run a mini experiment, because like running a business is very different in reality to what it is in your head quite often. And so many people want to start restaurants because they like the food business, but they don't realize they've got to be there every night at the weekends. They've got to be in the kitchen. They've got to be serving people. There's a whole host of stuff you have to do that isn't quite like the dream. So the mini experiment is there a way that we can test this without debt so that you can experience running it and decide whether you actually want to go into it or not before the full commitment? And I guess, well, do you like ice cream, Mike?
Sure.
What's your favorite flavor?
Chocolate, definitely.
Chocolate, straight off chocolate. How do you know it's chocolate?
Because I don't know. I've tried a couple of different ones, and chocolate's the one I go back to.
There you go. That's it. And you've tried some. And I think quite often people forget there is a process of testing. And if you're anything like me, when you want to decide on what's your favorite flavor of ice cream, you go to the store and you buy 14 of them and you try them all and you do a taste test and you go, actually, yeah, chocolate, that flavor. And even sometimes it comes down to which brand do you like? So we always recommend, let's do a test, let's do an experiment, try the flavors and find the one that really does it for you. Then we can go full in, then we can spend some money, then we can really attack.
So what's the practical application of a test? So it's a 2-week thing. Do you put sales prospects in front of the person? Like, how does that actually work in real life?
Well, that's the only real test is, will someone buy? And I think so many people like to do, and I did this, don't get me wrong, they like to do the market testing with a clipboard, or they like to go and ask their friends and say to their friends, what do you think of my idea? And let's do an experiment now, Mike, if that's okay.
Sure.
Imagine I came up with a new mobile phone case design and you're my friend. And I come to you and say, I've got this new idea for a business, Mike. It's this new mobile phone case. What do you think?
Unfortunately, most of them are going to say, I love it. This is great. You should do that.
And is that good feedback?
No, terrible.
It's dreadful feedback. And what you should do is when they say it's good, you should lean in, stare them in the eyes and say, actually, I've got a prototype here. It's $20. Would you like to buy it? And then you wait for that awkward silence. People will be nice to you until you ask for their money. So the only real feedback comes when you ask for the cash. So we try and short circuit or shortcut all of that process and ask for the money. So if your listeners have got this business idea and they're nervous about it, before they even do anything, just go ask someone to buy. Before you produce it, before you write the training course, before you do the consultancy, ask someone to buy. If they say yes, you've got a business. If they say no, you've got a learning opportunity. And then we need to dive in with why and find out.
Yeah, so practical. This is my favorite version of doing a business, because for me, it was the same thing. I didn't go to school. I didn't do anything. I just decided one day that I was going to make my own money, and I just started asking, and then some people said yes, and I was like, all right, let's figure it out. So I feel like I was in spirit was at one of your pop-up schools.
I love that. Yeah, that's exactly, like, I've done both routes. I went for training from the British government, and they made me write a business plan and talk to me about getting loans, and it petrified me and I nearly didn't start. And then I've done the other route where I just asked and someone said yes, and suddenly I'm running a business without even knowing it. So I think, yeah, that practical, just get going.
Yeah. So somebody listening is thinking, okay, I've got this idea. I'm going to go ask. I'm going to see how to validate it. What steps or what guidelines would you give to somebody who's not used to being in a sales environment or not used to asking? I'm assuming a lot of that comes within your training, but anything to get people thinking or any resources that make sense to point out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing is, if I say the word salesman to you, and I've done this exercise around the world, what's the first thing that comes to mind when I say salesman?
Cars, used cars, probably.
Shiny suits, sleazy, pushy. Like, the words that people give me show that around the world, the US, the UK, we run these in New Zealand, we've run them in Africa. People have a bad perception of what sales is. So I'm here telling people, launch a business, go out and sell. And they're going, sales? I don't want to do that. So there's a real mismatch between what it is. So I think step one is, let's redefine what sales is. And sales, a couple of things. Number one, sales is about finding someone with a problem that you can fix. That's it. So let's search for people with the problem that you think your product, service, your consultancy fixes, and then let's go and ask them. And we define the problem and then offer them a solution and see what it is. That's a lot less sleazy than just trying to force what you've got on everyone. And the second bit of sales that really helped me, the definition of sales that we use, is sales is the transfer of enthusiasm from one person to another. So if I get enthusiastic about what I'm doing and I can get you enthusiastic about it, I'm most of the way there. Then we just need to define what exactly I'm going to do for you and a price, and we're there. And very practically, I would describe who I think has the problem, what the problem is, and what I will do to fix the problem. And then I will go find those people and start with, I think you've got this problem. Tell me about it. And ask a bunch of questions. And that you will learn more in that 1 hour conversation with a real life customer than you will in 2 weeks of Google research.
Yeah. Very practical. Yeah, absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. And I think one thing that I've experienced in doing sales training or getting people into this is, and I think people are fearful that people won't give them an answer or won't give them the time of day or things like that. And I've said it to everyone from my girlfriend to family members to friends. Did you ask?
That's the thing. They don't want to ask. And you probably know this, but like, why do you think most people don't want to ask?
They're afraid of no.
Afraid of rejection, afraid of no. Yeah. And there's this thing of rejection is painful. But I'll tell you what, if you're not getting rejected, you'll never get a yes. And people are afraid of that. And you're right. The ask bit, is it all right if I give you an example of that?
Mm-hmm.
We had this course in Newport in Wales, and there was a lady called Liz starting an angelic Reiki business. So Reiki is energy healing. And we got all excited about the trading day in the market. She was doing free demos of Reiki. She spent all day doing free demos of 10 minutes. And she came back to me at the end of the day after doing all this work, and she looked crestfallen and heartbroken. And I was like, what happened? And she said, well, I did all this work. I did all these demos, but no one bought. And you know my question, did you ask? And she looked at me and went, what do you mean, did I ask? I was like, well, did you specifically say, would you like to book a session? And she said, well, I asked them if they liked it and they all said yes. I'm like, well, okay, what did you say afterwards? And she said, well, nothing. We just smiled and they left. I'm like, oh. And so she kind of, and I didn't find this out until we ran the event the next year in Newport, and she came back and told me the story, but she immediately went running around the marketplace, found the people she'd done the demos with, and just asked. And she had 5 orders by the end of the day. And it's unbelievable. If you just ask, what happens and the magic that comes from that. You are exactly right, Mike.
Yeah, I love this. And so at the event, we brainstorm, we iterate, we come up with what the business is going to be, we validate it, we sell a couple. Then what? Kind of what's the next step from there?
Oh, you've sold something. I guess the next step is to review the mini experiment. So I think there's 3 main bits. Number 1, did you enjoy it? Right? Did you personally enjoy running this mini experiment? Would you want to do more? Number 2, what did the customers say? Did they enjoy it? Would they buy again? Are they coming back? There's a whole customer validation bit. And number 3, did you make profit? And maybe you actually go, did I break even because I can figure out how to get better later? But did you at least make some money? Because if not, it's not a business, it's a charity. And those are the 3 tests we would apply as to know whether to push in. And if you've got a yes to all of those and you're happy to push in, then we increase the sales, we work out what we're doing. And that, you know, there's a whole process to go through to build the business after that. But this is the way you get going and you test ideas quickly and know whether it's worth keeping going or not.
Yeah, it makes sense. So then are you on the back end, are you offering kind of support and ongoing guidance and business development with the people, or do you finish at kind of validate, test, get the kind of sign off, get the check mark? How do you work with them after?
Well, it's quite interesting. Everyone comes along and they go, Alan, you've got free courses. So they're expecting to be sold the 20 grand coaching package at the end. And then it comes to the end and I normally look at them and go, right, here's the point. I'm going to sell you the 20 grand coaching package. They all look sad and I go, only joking. But they think that's what we're going to do. And actually no one has ever paid to go on our courses. We don't sell anything. And I've wanted the advice to be free for everyone. The support afterwards, we have an online guide, we have a podcast, we have all these different bits that we give people, but primarily we're about getting people going. And there are some great services out there if you want to scale and grow. But if you want to start, test the idea and launch and know how to get started, like we are your people, that's where it is. But that's kind of, we know where we go. And we help a little bit beyond that, but that's not really where we play. There's other people that will do that. And if you've got an idea that's high growth, there's incubators and all sorts of things. We're the people to get you started without debt.
Yes, I think that's a really important part. I think there's this misconception about, you said it at the beginning a little bit, about how there's this feeling of, oh, well, I have to get an investment to start something. It's like, an investment for what? I mean, maybe if you need equipment, if you need certain things, then possibly, depending on the cost of it. But you could also go and generate sales and use that money to buy your equipment too, right?
And that's the answer, Mike. That is absolutely the answer, because lots of people want to borrow. They get a loan. They want a shiny new laptop. They want some office space. They want some business cards. I've got business cards. Woo! I've got a real business, and they blow all this early loan on stuff that doesn't do anything. And I've seen so many people borrow money to start a business, and it's predicated on the belief that it takes money to make money. And do you know where that saying comes from?
I don't.
It was from a Roman playwright way back in the day. And it was written in a comedy. It was a comedy line, and it literally doesn't make sense. It takes money to make money. Like, it was meant to be a joke, but somehow that has ended up in our vocabulary of beliefs in society, that we think before anything, I need money. And actually the exact opposite is true. You need the sales, and then the money will flow. And if you do that way round, which is exactly what you did, is exactly what I've done later on in life. Don't get me wrong, I've made every mistake under the book, which is actually why we can run these courses. My business partner, Simon, and I repeat the saying, you don't have to make the same mistakes that we've made. We can teach you to avoid our mistakes, and then you can go out and make new mistakes, and then we can learn together. But it's that bit. And I think it's the belief. And that's actually the belief that Simon and I are fighting to change around the world, because it is a disempowering belief that people believe they need money to get going before they start. And actually, it's just not true.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's a great mission.
It's what keeps us busy. It's what I've been fighting against for a long time. And we ran a course in Namibia, in the capital city, Windhoek. And I always remember the day before the course, we were exploring the capital city. And as we did, we walked past a big blank wall with posters over it. And there were posters for need help writing your business plan, need a loan to start up. And actually, I don't care where you are in the world, whether it's in the States, whether it's in the UK, Namibia, that belief that I need to write a business plan and get a loan, it seems to be part of culture and society. And I want to tell every one of your listeners, you don't have to do that. There is a way to start for free. There is a way to start quickly, and it involves going to sell, which is the scariest part. That's the price. You might get your ego slightly bruised and rejected. If you're willing to pay that price, you can save a lot of money and have a nice business.
Yeah. And your ego will be bruised. I don't think it's a maybe. I think it's I feel like it's a definitely, but once you get past that initial shock, it's not too bad.
Yes.
So where do you guys go from here? Obviously the in-person stuff is on hold. Are you adapting this into some curriculum or some live events online, or how are you guys wrapping your head around this thing?
So we've actually started to run the live events. And the first one that actually happened was with Westminster Council in London, and we ran a live event for London. We have a whole series of those coming up that people are welcome to check out. At the PopUp Business School event, there's all sorts of live events that they can check out. We've launched a podcast to try and spread the message further about the no debt startup. I'm working on a TV show, but I shouldn't really say too much about that yet. And we're focused. And I think this is the bit actually for all your people listening, is what's the mission or the cause of your business? Because if you've got a clear mission or a clear cause, it keeps you motivated, it keeps you excited, and it drags you through the tough times. So we have a very clear cause of help anyone build a business doing something they enjoy. And we're doing that by changing the way entrepreneurship is taught. No more debt, no more business plans. Here's how to start without it. And that gets all the team out of bed each day to go and fight that cause. So if your listeners can find the thing they're passionate about changing, the cause they want to work on, if they can put that at the heart of their business, it will help drag them through the tough times and the no's and the rejections too.
Love it. Well, that is inspiring, man. That's really cool. I love the mission. I think it just feels right. It's because how I did it. And it's funny because there's this sense of like, you look around and see what other people are doing. You're like, oh, well, they're all getting investors and a lot of them are doing this stuff. But on the back end of it, you don't see that the majority of them fail because they can't grow at the rate that they need you to keep the funding going, or when COVID hits and funding dries up and they're waiting for that next round and they can't get, I mean, that's devastating, you know? So I love it. The debt-free concept, the concept of validate, sell to get it started. I believe in it all the way, and I love what you guys are doing. So where can people discover your you and your events?
Thanks, Mike. So if they want to find out about PopUp Business School events, just type that into Google, PopUp Business School. We are the first thing that comes up. The new podcast is called Rebel Entrepreneur, and that's where we put that out online. And my blog is alandonegan.com. Just type Alan Donegan, usual spelling, Donegan, into Google. Yeah, Mike's pulling a face like, what do you mean usual spelling? Just usual spelling, just stick that into Google. We are the only thing that shows up, and we'd love to help if we can.
Love that. The reason why you got that face is because I can't spell well. So I was like, I don't know what the regular spelling with that means. I don't know.
No one can spell my name. Don't worry about it. The spellings and pronunciations are unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, really appreciate you coming on. I'll link everything up in the show notes, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. And to all your listeners, go test some business ideas and have a go. That's all I ask, is go and have a go, because you never know what's going to happen.
All right, brother. Thank you.